Welcome, everyone. Happy New Year. Hope you had a good holiday season. Go ahead and call this meeting to order. Starting off with our recognition of guests. I'm looking in chat. I see one guest who I believe is a candidate for the one of the 20 DNC positions. So you want to introduce yourself? Uh, Feel free.
Hi, my name is Deborah Cunningham Skurnick. I'm the Regional Director for Region 21 with CADEM, which is South Orange County, most of San Diego, and a little bit of Riverside. And yes, I'm running to be on the DNC during the e-board election in May.
Great. Well, welcome.
Thank
I
you.
hope you're not too bored tonight. Thank you for joining us. I don't see, looking through, I don't see any other guests. The rest appear to be members and alternates. So, Tom, if you pull up the land acknowledgement, and we will ask our secretary to read it tonight once it's up.
We pause to acknowledge that the Solano County Democratic Central Committee of the Democratic Party sits on the land of the Miwok and Padwin people. Remember their continued connection to this region and give thanks to them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and pray in their traditional homeland. We offer respect to their elders and the Miwok and Padwin people of the past and present.
Right. Thank you, Corey. I appreciate that. I do believe we have some new members and alternates who joined us prior to our December meeting and have not been sworn in. If you would come on camera and unmute yourselves. And I believe John, you were made are rejoining us as a voting alternate. Looks like that's the only one currently in. So if you spotlight you, we'll swear you in. Okay. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Gian McDougald,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution
of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any, that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter
upon which I am about to enter,
and during such time as I hold the office of Central Committee member.
and during which time I will be of this Central Committee member.
Right. Thank you so much. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
Okay. And just see another guest joining us, Trevor Page. Want to just introduce yourself and say hello?
Hello, everybody. Trevor Page. I am with the California School Board Association, and this will be my first Central Committee meeting. Tiffany invited me, so I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome. And with that, we do have a quorum. like to move on to approval of the minutes and agenda. First up, the October 25, 23 minutes. We sent those out again yesterday. Does anyone have any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes? If not, I'll ask Tom to display the poll.
Do we need a motion and all that?
Yeah, motion would be probably procedurally correct. So if anyone wishes to make that motion.
So
This
moved.
is Tiffany. I motion to approve October 18th minutes.
Is there a second?
This is Gian McDougal. I second.
Okay. Have to release that poll.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And do you have the agenda available to display, Tom? Here is the agenda that was sent out. Does anyone have any corrections, additions, or deletions for the agenda? I'm not seeing
Move
any.
adoption of the agenda and approval.
Okay. Corey move to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All right. Yeah. Go ahead and launch that poll.
Ending poll.
All right.
Motion passes.
Thank you, everyone. Moving on to our guest speakers for the evening, we were approached to have presentations about the local ballot measures coming up on the March ballot. And starting off to discuss measures A and B, Steve Young agreed to speak on those measures, so we would spotlight him.
All right, thank you, Don. And I'll talk about A and B. I don't know if there's anybody here from the school district to talk about Measure C, but I guess we'll find out in a moment. But on A and B, so let me, as background for anybody who doesn't know, the city of Benicia is facing some pretty severe structural financial deficit problems to the tune of about $6.5 million a year ongoing. And there are a lot of reasons for that deficit. I'm happy to talk about them, but it basically boils down to the fact that we have had virtually no growth in the last 10 years. We've added about 10 houses. We've had virtually no commercial growth. We have a policy that has restricted retail growth to try to protect First Street. And property taxes have not really moved at all, because one reason is that, people love living here, and so there's not a lot of turnover in houses. There's only 6 houses for sale at the moment in Benicia. And so without significant turnover, you don't get the reassessment of properties to get more property taxes. Commercial property, industrial property hardly ever turns over. And several of our larger industrial users have a habit of appealing their assessments on a regular basis. And when that happens, the city doesn't get any money until the assessment appeal is settled. So there will be years that will pass before we see any money from our biggest property tax payers. So the 2 biggest sources of revenue we have are sales tax and property tax. Sales tax is flat, property tax is flat. Our expenses are increasing at a pretty rapid pace, partly because of actions we've taken, largely around the issue of raising salaries for city employees. We were running on average about 30% below the rest of Solano County market. We were losing police officers to North County cities. We were not able to fill significant positions in our utility operation. Part of our challenge is that we are a full-service city, and there's no conceivable service that could be done by a city that is not done by the city of Benicia. We are over-parked. We have 28 parks for 28,000 people. That's at least twice the normal ratio. We have a cemetery, of all things, that we're responsible for, a marina that we have to subsidize. So there's all kinds of things that are sort of piling up on top of each other. And the council has basically decided that we can't afford to go along business as usual. We're operating on reserves right now. We can do this for maybe another fiscal year, but by then our reserves are gone, and we wouldn't be able to pay bills at all. So the decision was made to put a sales tax measure on the ballot, 3/4 cent. If it passes, it would generate between $5 and $5.5 million, which would go a long way towards the $6.5 million deficit we have. It doesn't really contemplate any new spending, but just a way to sort of keep things going the way they are. So we have a campaign committee, not we, the city, but there has been a campaign committee formed that includes labor, the police union, the firefighters union, some of the businesses in town. We're out trying to raise money from businesses now so we can run a real campaign. We're going to need about $50,000 raised in the next 30 days to be competitive. There's a lot of people in town who sort of think, well, you've got plenty of money, don't tax us, times are tough. And I get that. Nobody wants an extra tax, but we're hopeful that people will, love Benicia enough that they're willing to spend, what has been estimated to be about $10 per household per month, 33 cents a day. And one of the other things about sales tax is that although they are generally regressive, a lot of our sales tax comes from bars and restaurants, and a lot of the bars and restaurant patrons are from outside Benicia. So this sort of rolls into Measure A, which is a proposed increase in the TOT, or transient occupancy tax, from 9% to 13%. 13% would put us sort of right in the middle of other cities where they are in terms of, and these are, of course, our taxes that are paid by hotel guests, not by city residents. So we're hopeful that people will support this. It will also help incentivize a hotel development downtown that we hope to see coming forward. The sales tax increase on Measure B would take the rate from 8 3/8 to 9 1/8. The statutory cap for Solano County is 9.25. Vallejo is already at that cap. There is a citizens group who's circulating petitions right now to get another sales tax on the ballot for November, which would be to fix our streets and roads. And if that qualifies, we are going to need to have the cap for Solano County raised. We have talked to Assemblywoman Wilson about this. She's willing to introduce legislation to make that happen. She wanted to see, first of all, that we had a majority of cities in Solano supporting this. And we do. We have Sassoon City, Fairfield, Rio Vista, ourselves, and I think Vallejo. The only objector was from Dixon. And it was a little hard to understand because, this basically just gives cities the right to go to their voters and ask for an increase. And so why people in Dixon would be upset about people in Benicia getting to vote on a tax increase is beyond me. But I guess the anti-tax sentiment is strong in Dixon, and they weren't willing to even have a discussion. So they're not going to support it, but we do have a majority of the cities in Solano. So I've talked to Assemblywoman Wilson's staff. We think we've given them all they need. We're hopeful that she will be introducing that soon. It has to pass before this session, so the other tax measure can go on in November.
All right. Let me just cut in. Does anyone have any questions on these measures at this time? I do want to allow for our other representative to speak. Does anyone have any questions? Let me check. Let me just, since I did kind of pause you, is the current proposed sales tax, is that indefinite, or does that have a sunset date?
This one is has a 12-year sunset. The one that's being circulated does not have a sunset, but this one has a 12-year sunset, a citizens oversight committee. We think that 12 years will get us over the hump, the big hump being accrued CalPERS payments and pension payments that will start to flatten out in about 7 or 8 years out as the PEPRA reforms, as the pension reforms kick in and affect more of the city's employees. So we're still on an increasing path for 7 or 8 years, and then it starts to flatten out. So we think if we can get to that point, we'll be in relatively good shape.
Okay. All right. Any other questions at this time? Go ahead and raise your hand.
The other, well, of course, we would like to get the Central Committee's endorsement. And I see, looking at the agenda, that may not happen until February 3rd. That's a little bit problematic. We're in the process of printing door hangers now, and it would be great to get your name on the door hanger. So I don't know if it's possible to get a vote on this measure tonight or soon, but that would be the request.
Okay, we will certainly be part of the discussion that we'll have when we get to that part of the agenda. All right. Thank you. I appreciate you informing us. And then our next speaker for Measure C is John Isom, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. If we could spotlight him. And I'm going to set a timer for you for 5 minutes. Although I don't, hopefully it won't take that long. But
hopefully
when you begin speaking, I will hit the start button.
Okay. Good evening. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, really just to kind of tell you about Measure C and what's going on for the Benicia Unified School District and how we'd love to have your support as you had given it the last time the school district came to voters. Some specifics on Measure C. Well, let me go further back, right? So the community of Benicia has always been supportive of its schools, passing bonds in the 1980s, late 1990s, 2014. Every decade or so they come to voters, and now it's time with Measure C. So Measure C is a local school improvement measure that's going to upgrade, renovate, and modernize outdated classrooms and schools in Benicia. So it's Benicia Unified School District. Just some context, the average age of schools in Benicia is over 55 years. The oldest school was built in the 1930s. So some old campuses for sure. The district has made some major renovations over the years. But again, it's time for the next major investment. Some specifics about what types of projects we're talking about: replacing or renovating leaky roofs. Career technical education is going to be a big focus, for the high school kids to better prepare them for employments after high school. Old HVAC units, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, science technology labs, improving student access to computers and modern technology, and then all things related to the infrastructure of the campuses. One of the neatest features, and I can say that because it doesn't happen very often, but one of the neatest features about this is that it is not going to increase taxes. You say, how is that possible? The reason that it's possible is a bond that was approved back in 1997 is dropping off in 2 years. And that tax rate has historically been above $100, high 90s to above $100. That tax rate's going to go away, and we'd love to have Measure C replace it, but Measure C is capped at $60. So we're going to go from 95 to 100 down to 60, plus we're able to raise, by consequence, about $122 million to upgrade and renovate and modernize our facilities. Now, if we did nothing and it didn't pass, then the tax rate goes from 90 to 0. But we're optimistic and hopeful that the community will support us in the tax rate extension concept. So again, a no tax rate increase. The Measure C by law has taxpayer safeguards in addition to that, including a Citizens Bond Oversight Committee of residents that must be part of reviewing the expenditures, independent audits, financial and performance. There is the requirement of a detailed project list, as well as it has to go on a regularly scheduled election date. So we've elected to choose this date in March because we think that's going to get the district a head start on getting in front of a lot of districts that are going to go in November. And having a head start means it gets through the Division of State Architects quicker. It means we get access to contractors quicker. It means we're able to get projects done sooner and kind of cap inflation, right? Because if we don't go in 24, it's 2026, things just cost that much more. So we're optimistic. We did do a voter survey of residents of the district, Benicia Unified School District voters, and the results came back very favorably. And that was one of the primary reasons that we're going forward is that the voters have said, we love the idea, no tax increase, tax rate extension, replace the old, and fix up all of these schools that are certainly in need of major investment and repair. So with that, I'll stop at 4 minutes and happy to take any questions if folks have them. And thank you again for the time.
All right. Again, does anyone have any questions? Please raise your hands or drop them into chat if you have any questions on this particular measure. Okay, I'm not seeing any, so either you were very persuasive or the reverse. Let's hope it's the first. Thank you very much for giving some of your time to us. Would you or your colleague, got his name in front of me, Damon Wright, would you be the appropriate contact points if we were to send out a questionnaire just for follow-up on that?
Yeah, I would go through Damon. Damon Wright is the superintendent of the district. He's kind of the CEO, if you will, and he can certainly tap into me for assistance or expertise. But let's run things through Damon.
Right. Sounds good. Okay. Last call. Any other questions for our guest on Measure C? All right, I'm not seeing any, so again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, everybody. You have a great night. Appreciate what you do. Bye-bye.
Okay, we will be moving to public comment momentarily, but just to address the question that was asked earlier about moving on this, we did not act on the measures in December because the timing that the registrar has is different for candidates and ballot measures. We didn't have the necessary information to include it in December. And then subsequent to that, we've had people contact us regarding these measures. Our normal process is, of course, to have the questionnaire first and then do the vote. That's what's in our bylaws. So if we want to change that, I will ask the members to discuss that at the proper time later in the meeting, so that if we wish to move forward, we can. But again, our bylaws specify the endorsement questionnaire and then the meeting to discuss that. All right, thought I saw a hand, but it's apparently gone down. So moving on to public comment. A public comment is for guests to the meeting. All comments are limited to 2 minutes each. Additional time may not be granted for this. And comment period cannot exceed 30 minutes. So with that, it's 7:27 opening for public comment. If any of our guests wish to make a comment at this time, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any hands being raised. So with that, we'll go ahead and close our public comment at 7:27. Now, do we have any announcements from anyone? Any of our candidates have any announcements they wish to make at this time, or any upcoming events that people wish to publicize? Jeannie, I see your hand up.
Good evening, fellow Central Committee members. I would like to make this personal invitation to all of the other clubs in the Central Committee. They're interested in hearing, even though we have done our switch and now we have Mike Thompson as our congressman, and the southern part of the Central Committee has John Garamendi. We are really excited to be able to talk a little bit about an upcoming event that we are having that actually was set up by the congressman himself. Mike Thompson actually approached the Northern Solano Democratic Club and asked if we could do an encore performance of Cooking with Alice, because he is an amazing cook and he wants to do the cooking himself and to bring his own recipe. We would like to invite any interested folks who would like to be there in person for the filming and to have brunch with the congressman, or to purchase tickets for the Zoom effort, to please look. Actually, I've sent out the flyer to each of the presidents of all of the clubs in the Central Committee, but I will also put my email address in the chat this evening if you want to hear more about it. This is on Saturday, February 24th from 12 to 2, and we would love to have you participate. It's been a lot of fun every time we've done it, and the fact that the congressman asked to come back showed that he had a really good time, and we're looking forward to hearing more about him and his reelection campaign. So any questions, please put them in the chat, and I'm going to put the email address for the Northern Solano Democratic Club, and you're all welcome to join us. Thank you, Don, for letting me speak.
Thank you. Steve Young, I see your hand's up next.
Thanks, Don. I think we're all aware that California Forever has filed their plan with the county, and they are now in a signature gathering mode. They need to get 10% of the number of people who voted in the 22 governor's election to qualify to get it on the ballot for November. I think everybody's aware of who they are and what their plan is. There is a opposition group called Solano Forever that is actually going to be holding a rally and a meeting on Sunday, February 4th at the Nelson Community Center at noon. So depending on which side of this you're involved in, you may want to attend the Solano Forever event or get involved with the California Forever people who have now opened an office in Vallejo and in Fairfield and are charging full speed ahead and with their somewhat utopian version of what things should look like in Solano County. So thanks.
All right, thank you. Monica Brown, your hand's up next.
I just wanted to correct the mayor. Steve, they're not collecting signatures yet. The county has another week to go over it. And then so just FYI, not yet, but everything else you said was correct. But I just wanted to give you a heads up, just not yet. Based on what we talked about, it wouldn't be till like the end of hold on, the end of February, I believe. So I'll keep you guys informed as it goes through. But so I understand, but I just wanted to correct that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Julia, your hand's up next.
I might have missed it, but did we schedule the endorsement meeting or did nobody move for that or what's going on with that?
That's later on the agenda.
Okay, cool.
So not seeing any more hands for announcements, moving on to our treasurer's reports. So hand the platform over to our treasurer.
Good evening, everybody. It's Karen Rogers, and I wanted to just welcome everyone back from our holiday absence from November and December, and I again hope everyone had a great holiday. Okay, so on with the treasurer's report. In our federal account, our beginning balance on 12/23/2023 was $3,395.19. We had credits of a contribution of $250 and then awards dinner income of $3,370 for a total of $3,620. When adding that to our beginning balance, we have a total of $7,015.19. Then looking at our debits, of course, we have our River City Business Services, which was a fee of $304.15. Our storage that we have monthly, $118.99. Award plaques that we paid for $615.85, and then bank fees of $80.40, which came to a total of $1,119.39. Subtracting that from our balance, it leaves us with $5,895.80 in our federal account. Looking at the state account, a beginning balance in December was $1,398.69. We had credits of contributions of $290 and then awards dinner income of $1,925, which put us at a total of $2,215 for that balance. Then subtracting the debits that we had, which were bank fees of $36.15, it left us with $3,577.54. Adding both federal and state accounts together, we have a total of $9,473.34 in our treasury. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions on the treasurer's report? Okay, seeing none, thank you for that report. And we will move on to the other officer's report. Again, happy 2024 to everyone. I hope you all had a good holiday season. I had the opportunity to go meet my newest grandnephew, who I know you may think differently, but he is definitely the smartest most engaging and handsomest baby that's ever been born. We have a lot of things coming up this year, of course. I want to remind you all, if you did not see it, that the application period to run for delegate to the National Convention has now opened. You can go on to the state party website at cadem.org to file to run to be a district level delegate. That filing period is open until March 21st. And then from February 12th to April 24th, there are applications to run for either an at-large or party leader and elected official delegate position to the National Convention. So I'd encourage those of you who might want to go to Chicago as a voting delegate to consider applying for one of those positions. I will caution you that, of course, you'll have to pay your own way or raise the funds yourself. And if past experiences any measure, you will probably need to bring a few hundred of your closest friends with you to the caucuses where the district level delegates are elected. Those caucuses, looking at what I'm seeing, May, I believe, but I'm sure more information will be coming out. So I encourage you to look at that and make sure that you take every opportunity to avail yourself of cheering on the renomination of our president and vice president. Other than that, I'm hopeful that all of you who have not already purchased your tickets for the awards dinner will be doing so tonight or tomorrow. And that's all I have for right now. Moving on to our Northern Vice Chair. Do you have anything to report?
Good evening, everyone. I want to hold off on my report till we get down to the fundraiser awards dinner later on the agenda.
All right. Fair enough. Southern Vice Chair, anything to report?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of give information out. So I was on a webinar, I believe on Tuesday, with the Secretary of State's office in regards to ballot measures and that whole process. That webinar was actually recorded and will be available on the Secretary of State's website later this weekend. But there is another webinar that's happening on January 31st at 5 p.m. 5:30 p.m., excuse me, and it's called The Life Cycle of a Ballot. It's really informative information, almost like a refresher for any of us that don't really understand or know about the life cycle of a ballot. Her staff has been really helpful in answering questions. There's a Q&A portion of that webinar. I will send it to Corey to distribute to the rest of the Central Committee. Please spread that around. Very good information coming from our very own Secretary of State in regards to election cycles here in this state. And that is my report for this evening.
Thank you. And I'm guessing that you're feeling a little better than you were, so glad to see that.
Yes, I have a voice now.
Awesome. Okay. Secretary, do you have anything to report tonight?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our Information Resource Officer, Tom. Anything to report?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, and finally, our parliamentarian.
Nope.
Okay, that was easy. Moving on to elected officials reports. I don't believe we have anyone here representing Congressman Garamendi. We received Mike Thompson's report via email already. Don't believe we have Senator Dodd's representative with us. So Moving on, Supervisor Brown, you have anything to report?
No, the newspaper did a really good job and my Friday newsletter will have some stuff. So, but thank you for asking.
Okay, and Supervisor Williams' report was emailed out earlier, so hopefully you all had a chance to look at that. So unless anyone had any questions for our elected officials, Steve.
Yeah, thanks. I will add not on the tax measures, but in my capacity, I just stepped down as the chair of the Solano Transportation Authority. But one of the last things we did at our last meeting was agree to form yet another committee to look at the issue of transit in Solano County. And there is a move happening at the state level to sort of force consolidation of transit agencies in the Bay Area to potentially as little as one transit agency for the entire Bay Area. MTC has been looking at this for a while. There are 27 different transit agencies in the 9 Bay Area counties right now, and 7 of them are in Solano County. So we need to look at where we're going with transit in Solano County, and we have formed a committee called Transit 2030 that is made up of all the STA board members who are the mayors of the 7 cities, plus one supervisor representative, and that's Commissioner Mashburn, or Supervisor Mashburn, and former supervisor Jim Spearing, who is still the representative at MTC. And we're going to be working over the next year, and there'll be in terms of trying to develop some policy. And we have the transit districts themselves as the technical committee, try to come up with what makes sense for Solano County going forward. Is it fixed route? Is it mobility programs like mini bus routes or Uber, Lyft types of programs, demand response types of programs? What are we going to do with Solano Express? Are there changes that we need to make? That nobody really wants to use the word consolidation, but I think in the end, we're going to have to start dealing with that because it's being forced upon us. So and everybody has, an interest in trying to protect what they have. And so it's going to be a challenge to try to bring these separate entities and separate cities together around a common understanding of what transit ought to look like in Solano County. We have some real challenges here, and it's an important effort that we're going to undertake in 24. It's going to be chaired by myself and Mr. Spearing, and we have got a consultant hired, and we're hopeful, but not overly optimistic that this is going to go smoothly, but it's something that needs to be done. Thanks.
Well, thank you. And I would just encourage you, if and when there's public meetings on this, that you share some information out with members of the committee so that those who are interested can join and be heard. All right, thanks. Moving on to our clubs this evening, do we have a representative from the Community Democratic Club with us? So please raise your hand. Not seeing. Jewish Democratic Club. I thought I saw you with us earlier.
Yeah, I'm here, guys. I'm here.
Okay.
Thanks so much. So first of all, I just want to let you guys know that it's been a tough month for me personally. I lost my father right before New Year's, so we're a little bit behind in terms of our regular meetings, but our committee meetings are continuing. And right now, our big project coming up is going to be in March. So I just wanted to get you guys a little bit advance warning about that. So a joint project with the Vallejo Naval and Historical Museum. The project is called The Jewish People, Our Stories, Our Voices, Our Visions. We're putting together a multimedia art event. We thought long and hard about like the best way to have like a big community presence for the Jewish community to like to really connect to the larger Solano County area. And we felt like this would be a really good place to begin because nothing like this has been done in Solano. So this is going to tell the story of the Jewish people through various art forms. It's going to show the work of Jewish artists primarily in Solano County. We're going to build understanding of the Jewish people, their culture, diversity, and history in the larger Solano County area. We're going to educate about anti-Semitism, and we're going to bring more attendance and exposure to the Vallejo Naval Historical Museum. Just so you guys know, like, of course, politics are very important for us as a club, but we're also a cultural club too. That's part of our agenda. That's like part of our charter as well. And this is performing a critical function on behalf of our community. We encourage all of you guys to attend, specifically the opening day, March 3rd, and the closing day, March 24th. We're going to have a series of presentations from live speakers, live music. We're going to have teachers and rabbis, artists, a lot of like one-on-one engagement. Miguel, did you have a question?
Pardon me?
Your hand was up.
My hand's up, but it's something I want to, after you, I want to
Okay.
say something.
I'm sorry. Right. Okay. But that's about all we have to report for now, guys.
All right, thank you. Miguel, your hand's up, so.
Yeah, well, I'm chair of the Southern Democratic Club. What I wanted to let you guys all know is that some of you may, or all of you may know Joseph Hayden, and you may or may not know that his house burned down about a week ago, and it's pretty horrific, and he lost 5 dogs. All 5 dogs died in the fire. He wasn't home. We're going to do some either kind of a fundraiser or coordinate things like, for example, I've got 3 of everything in my kitchen, and I'm going to make sure he gets a lot of stuff from kitchen stuff, but he's going to need stuff. He's going to need some of everything. And if you think it's something you can contribute or want to participate in that, just get a hold of me. Just contact me and I'll coordinate that, okay? I hope you all know him. He's a very, very nice man. We're very lucky to have him as the president of the Glen Cove Association. That's all I've got. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I certainly would invite you to, as you have events going on to help with that, please share them with the committee, email them to us. Glad to get that out. We had written reports submitted from the Northern Solano Democratic Club, Progressive Democrats, and the Rio Vista Democratic Club. So next up, the Sankofa Democratic Club. You have a report for us this evening?
Gian, your mic is muted.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. I am so happy to be here officially. I've been attending these meetings for years, and so I am the real deal this time. So good evening and Happy New Year. The first meeting of the year for Sankofa was January the 6th, and we will be holding a meet and greet sometime in February, and the date and the location will be announced. And we would like for all of you to be part of it. So we'll send out the date and location when it's determined. We will be following the endorsements of ACADEM and endorsing Rosanna Berta Alaga for Senate, as well as Lori D. Wilson for Assembly. And our initiative through the summer will be surrounding voter registration. And we ask everyone to please join us at our Sankofa Dems of Solano Facebook page. Join us at our Sankofa Dems of Solano Facebook page. And we'd like for everyone to share and like it because we're wonderful people and we'd like for you to know what we're doing. So thank you very, very much. And I'm honored to be part of this group. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Glad you could join us. We had a brief report from the Democratic Workers Alliance sent out. Is there anything that needs to be added to that report at this time?
We're good at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So, Stonewall Democratic Club.
We'll be sending a report out later tonight.
Okay. And we had the report from United Democrats. So that's good. moving on to our standing committees. First and foremost is our fundraising committee to discuss primarily the awards dinner. And again, everyone, if you have not purchased your tickets already, please do so. And with that, we'll turn it over to Vernil and Julia and the rest of the committee to give us their update.
Yes, and good evening again. I'd like to start off by thanking Julia. She's been such a good help in organizing this event as well. As we all know, our fundraising awards dinner is scheduled for Saturday, January 27th at the Government Center located at 601 West Texas Street. We have secured Mike Thompson and Senator Dodd will be present. We will have a dessert auction, and thank you to the members who donate for their donations. And we have 2 caterers, one to that's strictly for the vegetarian. They will have a vegetarian menu, and then we'll have the other menu for others at that evening. Tickets are $60. If you haven't purchased one, please do, because we need to send in a final count. Do you have anything to add, Julia, on the fundraising side?
Just to add, it's actually going to be vegan, so not just vegetarian. It will actually be vegan. We're really excited for all of our award winners, and we'd really like for everybody to celebrate with us. It's actually going to be Assemblywoman Lori Wilson, and Senator Bill Dott will not be able to make it. So he is sending a couple representatives though.
Is the awards committee, Jeanette?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm on here still. I would just say thank you to everyone who has submitted either your picture and or paragraph or your paragraph, because I sent out an email. I've gotten most of them. If you haven't sent that in, please do that as soon as possible so we can have that for a slideshow and the information to introduce the people. But I think it's a great activity and a great a great opportunity to recognize the hard work of a lot of individuals. So thanks for your support.
Margie, your hand's up.
Yeah, I'd like to see everyone there too. It's really nice to hear from the people that get the awards.
You muted yourself.
You muted yourself, Margie.
Did you hear anything, or did I just?
No.
So anyway, I hope to see everyone there. And I been trying to put together a dessert auction, and I sent messages to the Central Committee and the club members, and there isn't really a lot of participation. We've got about probably 10 desserts coming from about 6 people. So I guess I'll go forward with it. I mean, unless you tell me not to, and hope everybody will bid up the desserts that the people do bring.
I would say 10 desserts is quite a healthy amount, and you will allow for plenty of competition in the bidding, hopefully. Monica, your hand's up.
Yes, Jeanette, are you going to need an LCD projector? Because I'm thinking of what's available.
So I went to the venue already. They have the projector already available in the venue, as well as a projector screen and microphone. So all that shit is taken care of. But
Well, I just want to double check because I was already there checking on it and nobody had indicated an LCD projector was going to be there. So thank you. I'll make sure that it's there because I was talking with Justine. So we're talking, there's an LCD projector in the small room, but not in the big room. And all we have is the big room. So, okay, I'll just double check. I just want to make sure it's okay. Okay, Julia, I'll double check. If you don't hear from me, then what you said was fine. Not saying it wasn't, but that was not the communication I had with Justine today. So that's all. That's all I needed to know. Thanks.
I believe that's it for our report. Don,
Okay.
thank you.
I appreciate that. And again, not to beat a dead horse, but if you haven't purchased your ticket, do so. This money will help us fight for our candidates this fall. And we need every dollar we can raise. And I'm sure our committee does not want to be doing fundraiser after fundraiser after fundraiser, trying to make sure we have enough to pay for our door hangers and other campaign paraphernalia. Next up, the bylaws committee. It is not, we're getting to the time where we should be rechartering our clubs for the new cycle. So I want to bring it to your attention and encourage our parliamentarian to look at a good date to schedule that and have the committee submit their paperwork so that everyone is freshly renewed when the new committee takes office in April.
Okay.
So, unless you have anything to add to that, Julia, at this point, we'll just wait for you to get that scheduled and let us know.
If anybody would like to be on the bylaws committee, because as far as I know, nobody is on the bylaws committee right now.
We did have a sign up list. I will have it somewhere and I will forward it to you.
Okay.
Of people who signed up. But we will certainly get that communication, and any new volunteers, please contact Julia.
And just give me a day and time that are convenient for you, and we'll try and work around a schedule.
Great. All right, thank you for that. Next up, I put our legislation committee on the agenda tonight because, you know, with the new year underway, legislation will be following soon after. So I don't know, Bonnie, if you have any dates that you want to announce at this time for meetings, but
no, but the deadline for the time that we should see the new legislation for this year, I believe, is mid-February. So it's the Friday. Can't think off the top of my head. I believe it's like the 16th. Is Friday the 16th that we should have what the new legislation is. There is some straggling legislation happening, but I haven't really been attuned to it. So we'll know more at our February meeting what the status is and determine whether we need to meet in February or postpone till March. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And again, for those of you who are interested in joining the legislation committee this year, please get in contact with Bonnie and let her know of your availabilities. Moving on now to business, scheduling of the endorsement meeting for ballot measures. The e-board, we discussed our process for handling the request to endorse various ballot measures at our meeting. And as I said earlier, our normal process is that we have the questionnaire go out and be filled out, followed by an endorsement meeting. And in our initial discussions, we had a tentative date of February 3rd proposed for that endorsement meeting. But want to hear from the body as to how you wish to handle these endorsements for these three ballot measures that we discussed tonight. Measures A, B, and C, all affecting either the city of Benicia or the Benicia School District. And Monica, I see your hand up.
Based on what the mayor indicated, in order to have the door hangers, and it would be nice if we had our endorsement on it provided, is there any way that we can, because it's just what, 10 days away to have February 2nd? Is there any way that we can just vote on it tonight? Make some sort of like if we vote and it's at least 80% in favor, just because there is a time sensitive to this and it's extremely important. I've been attending many meetings that Mario, the city manager, has been doing, Steve Young. It's an essence to make sure that everybody passes A and B in the city of Benicia, because they're $6.5 million structurally that has to be cut, and that could mean all police, all fire. I'm just saying, is that there's some way with the bylaws. I know I didn't attend Sunday's meeting, but I was already at another event in Benicia. But there's got to be some way that we can stretch the bylaws just because it's a time sensitive issue.
I will defer to our parliamentarian if you've got any words of wisdom for us.
I am looking it up. I would be personally disinclined to I do understand the importance and the need for this to go quickly. However, I am personally not inclined to do something that is not according to our bylaws. Yeah, sure, we could suspend our bylaws and do all of that, but waiting another week and a half doesn't seem like the highest of bars. I understand that that is a long time in election time, but I am personally disinclined. I will let me go look at the bylaws real quick and I will get back to you.
Okay. While you're looking at that, let me take our other hands that are up. Bonnie, your hand up.
Yeah, so pardon me for not knowing the bylaws intimately, but can someone express what the bylaws are that is blocking us from voting tonight? What's the situation?
I believe it is the fact that we have not actually allowed for the questionnaire to be filled out by both sides and then released to the central committee. And then we also have not made notice.
So is that what the bylaws express, that we need to do that before we vote to endorse?
So yes, so upon the close of filing period for local elections, Tom, I can't share my screen, but if you want to put up the bylaws, it's 904. The chairman or his or her designee shall obtain the list of all candidates, including partisan registration and the contents. A questionnaire shall also be sent to the proponents and opponents of any ballot measure appearing before the ballot voters of Solano County. The executive board shall review all returned questionnaires and shall invite all Democratic candidates and proponents/opponents of local ballot measures who have requested endorsement to a regular or special meeting of the Central Committee, provided that the meetings shall be scheduled at least 57 days prior to the election in question. Every effort shall be made to schedule the appearance of all candidates for a specific office at the same meeting. And Tom has posted it.
And quite bluntly, we ran again into the problems of the calendar with the March primary, not allowing us a easy way to consider the ballot measures. So our parliamentarian is giving her opinion, but I do think, again, I'd like to get additional feedback. Steve, your hand's up next.
Yeah. Thanks. Well, you've already blown past the 57-day requirement. We're within 57 days of the election. These measures have been endorsed by every elected official in Solano County, by labor, by all of the Benicia City Council, by people across the political spectrum. And to be hung up over our bureaucratic rules that weren't going to be able to be followed anyway. We didn't have a meeting in December. There was no questionnaire that was sent out. There's certainly not time to do it now. Ballots are going to start being received in mid-February at the latest. So for us to be effective in this thing and to have, I think we want the Democratic seal on the flyers or the door hangers. It has to happen tonight or it's not going to happen. And it's, I understand that we have rules, but if our rules don't work in the real world, then I think we ought to think about suspending them for this purpose. Thanks.
You're
The
muted.
next hand I see up is Monica's.
I move that we suspend the bylaws and be able to vote on measures A, B, and C. I believe the mayor said it succinctly. I personally have not only endorsed A, B, and C, but I've given money to help with passing of measures A. The school district, will deal with that later in terms of giving money to help out. But this is imperative. This is keeping the city of Benicia alive and well. And so if I can have a second and then we can have a discussion about it, but it's too important. And I think Steve said it succinctly. Our bylaws should not hold us up for a time limit that we've already not even made.
I'll
And-
second it.
Yeah, I was going to say that was the motion I was going to make, and I will second the motion. But if Pat's already seconded,
Just to be clear, we're not talking about all bylaws. We're talking about the requirement for endorsement bylaw. So 9.05, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
and only for this one time. For this
Right,
one,
that's why, not to be rude to anybody, but that's why I mentioned as measures A, B, and C,
Mention
and
all
the mayor,
three,
and the mayor
right,
Steve
Monica?
Young.
A, B, C?
Beg your pardon?
A, B, and C?
Right, just A, B, and C, the ones
you.
that we talked about tonight. And the mayor said it succinctly. It's too important, guys, just FYI.
All right, we've had the motion and the second. Julia, I saw your hand first.
It would be 904 and 905.
As the maker of the motion, that's fine to add that.
I think if the maker will agree, we'll just allow for any technical adjustments as be necessary to
Yeah,
accomplish our intent.
of course.
Tiffany, your hand's next.
I just have a quick question. Would it be an issue if we just called an addition, a special meeting to do this at some point instead of doing it today? I feel a little weird about changing bylaws, and this is how we roll. And every time we have something, we're going to suspend and change bylaws. It doesn't feel right to me. I want the measures to pass. Don't get me wrong. I just want to figure out a way to do this to where it doesn't call into question the integrity of this committee. We're going to change the rules every time, something happens on the whim. I don't want that to continue to be the reputation.
Before I recognize Monica for the third time, is there anyone who has not spoken on this measure who wishes to speak?
I can't find my raised hand right this minute, but can you hear me? Can I speak just a
Yes,
moment?
Jeanette.
So I just wonder about did the agenda say we were voting on this? And that's the big thing too, because then people who aren't in attendance said, well, I didn't know we were going to vote. So that's another just kind of a red flag to me. If we haven't agendized the voting, we just agendized the discussion. But I totally understand it's a really vital thing too. But that's my question. Will anyone come back and say, well, we didn't know it was going to be voted on at this meeting?
It was not agendized for action at this meeting. Pat?
Yeah, I was just going to add to what Steve and Monica said. I do think this is very important for our city. And as Steve pointed out, we didn't have a meeting last month. So the time factor is just too vital right now. So I am requesting that this one time that we do this. And I don't know that we have enough time to have another meeting around it. So I'm just supporting what both Steve and Monica have said.
Before I recognize the next person, I'd just say that under our bylaws, aside from anything else, our minimum requirement for calling a special meeting is 5 days. So that would take us to Monday. So,
Hey, Dawn, I'm reading the rules and I don't even see an option to suspend the bylaws. So if we're doing this, I don't even know what the vote requirement would be because I don't even see a way that we're supposed to be able to do this. But
So we would need to look at Robert's Rules of Order.
and Robert's rule says that you can't.
There you go.
So I don't know where we want to go from here, but that's what I have. Again, it is one of these things that if the rules don't mean anything, then why do we have them? But I will go with what the body decides.
Okay. Everyone's whose hand is up has spoken before, so I will take you in order. Monica.
Steve, if I understood what you said, the door hangers go to the printers tomorrow, correct? You're
Yeah.
muted, my friend.
Steve, you're muted.
That is my understanding from a meeting I had today. The Firefighters Association is the one who is paying for and producing the door hangers. But given the time crunch, the time delay to get them actually printed and distributed, we were planning to start distributing them next week.
Yeah. So, first off, everybody has the right to vote no. But I want you just to look at the fact, and I think Steve said it eloquently, the rules should not hamper us from doing what we need to do, especially when we did not only have a meeting in December, but the fact that we've already gone past the particular date, which I can't remember, was some 70 plus dates. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's all I'm saying, and I'm done.
Glenn, you haven't spoken yet.
Yes, just a point of clarification. If we did establish any provision in the bylaws for suspension of any portion of the bylaws for these purposes, just to clarify if we've established that. And then the other is if we could re-clarify. I think you said, Don, there was a minimum of the 5-day established in bylaws for special meeting.
Yes. So if we were to disregard that, we would be, having yet another provision we would have to look at. Bonnie, your hand's up next.
Yes, so, we're voting to suspend the bylaws. We're not voting to endorse the measures at this point. However, we've heard arguments for and against, and I'm not sure we're going to go anywhere else. So it would be nice if we could just take it to a vote. I think that it's a lot to to have a special meeting just to kind of do this again. I think I don't know if I haven't heard anyone speak against the endorsement. However, I've heard against the bylaw suspension, but which I think is, again, I think we need to vote.
Tiffany.
And again, I understand the urgency, but to keep the integrity of bylaws and rules, and Robert's rules say we can't do this. Steve, if you can get confirmation of whether or not the flyers will be printed Monday or at some point next week, I think that would be helpful. But I don't see why we can't just do the special meeting. That way, every member of this central committee could be noticed and brought in to vote on this. I feel we need to just do it properly. I don't disagree that we don't need to stand on these issues and be supportive, but the rules are the rules. And we can't go changing rules every time something like this happens. And I don't want to keep going into these murky waters. We've been here before. And I want to continue to do that.
Tom, your hand is up.
I just want to point out one clarification. Robert's Rules does cover suspension of rules, which are also known as bylaws. It's in 25.3 of Robert's Rules. It says that the body can choose to suspend their bylaws contained by parliamentary authority, which is what we have, special rules of order and standing rules that can interfere with proposed action during a meeting. So according to Robert's Rules 25.3, 25.4, it talks about all that as far as like suspension of rules that the body can move, because the body is empowered by our own bylaws to take action as required.
The rules are not the bylaws.
In Robert's Rules of Order, rules are interpreted as bylaws or a constitution of the body that guides its operation.
Corey, your hand's up.
Yeah, I guess it's a point of order. I'd appreciate a ruling from the chair about the validity of the motion on the floor, because if I understand the parliamentarian correctly, the motion on the floor is out of order. But ultimately, I think the chair will have to make a decision on that.
The chair is grabbing his own copy of the Robert's Rules. So give me a moment. Under Robert's Rules, 25.7, rules that cannot be suspended. Rules contained in the bylaws cannot be suspended, no matter how large the vote in favor of doing so, unless the particular rule specifically provides for its own suspension, or unless the rule properly is in the nature of a rule of order. So the chair is ruling the motion out of order. If the body wishes to challenge the ruling of the chair, that motion would be possible to do. Monica?
Here's what I am going to do. I move to challenge the chair and the ruling. I believe that we have a motion, the previous motion that was stated and seconded, that should take care of this. We all understand the reason why this needs to be done, and it is time sensitive. So I move to challenge the chair.
All right, is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. Tom, if you could prepare that.
Is that vote require a 2/3 majority or a simple threshold, Chair?
I am checking. I believe it's a 2/3.
2/3.
I would agree it is 2/3.
All right. So if you prepare that, which is to challenge the rule that the previous motion is out of order. A yay vote is to, well, the way it's phrased, a yay vote is to oppose my ruling. A nay vote upholds the ruling. A vote yes if you believe Monica's motion is in order. Vote no if you believe it is not.
Here. Somebody needs to mute themselves.
Okay.
The challenge does not pass. It was an even split between the yay and the nays, and there were 3 abstaining, so 42, 42, and 16.
Okay. The motion is out of order. In an attempt to comply as much as possible with our bylaws, the earliest we could schedule a special meeting is 5 days from today, which would be Monday. If anyone wishes to make a motion scheduling a meeting.
I motion for said meeting.
Okay, what time would you like to set that meeting? Noting that many of us work.
Yes, would we like to? Yes, indeed. Would we want to target the standard time that we do our general meetings at 7 p.m.?
Okay.
And that's for 7 p.m. on the 29th, right?
Yes.
I'm happy to second Glenn's motion.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this motion? Jeanette?
Yes, I wonder, since we've had a lot of discussion, can it be like email vote only, or is it just a short meeting and whoever you have to log in to be able to vote? So how can we have a special meeting that everyone can participate in, even if they might be otherwise unavailable at 7 p.m. on Monday?
We will comply as much as possible with the bylaws, which requires that the people be present at some point during the meeting for their vote to be valid. So if you check in at 7 and go on about your business, you can still vote.
But it should be a short meeting, so people shouldn't.
It should be a short meeting. We will send out the questionnaire immediately following this meeting. We'll ask for its return, and we'll move forward from there. I do not anticipate it being a long meeting, since the gentleman who signed the opposition declined to respond to the last round of endorsements, and I cannot find a valid contact point for him. So, Monica?
So I just want to make sure I understand what we're going to do on Monday. Are we going to do 2 votes? Are we just doing one? One is that we either move to support measures A, B, and C, or we decline measures A, B, and C. What's going to be on the ballot?
There are 3 ballot measures, therefore there would be 3 votes, one for each ballot measure, as is always the case on these.
Okay, no problem. I just want to make sure that that's the only thing that's going to show up, and we basically, okay, just want to make sure. All right,
This would be a special meeting, assuming that the body approves it.
got it. Okay,
Unless there's any discussion further, let's please launch the poll.
Motion passes.
All right. Everyone, either you or your alternate, please be able to sign on Monday evening at 7 o'clock so that we can vote on these ballot measures. I will also just say that for future election cycles, I'd like to ask our parliamentarian and our bylaws committee to look at ways of updating our language, since this is not the first cycle that we've run into the issue of the information being available for the proponents and opponents of ballot measures not being available in time for our endorsement cycle that we quite honestly have set up to favor our candidates. So probably need to look at a way to accommodate the later cycle on ballot measures. Julia, your hand.
Just since you're bringing it up, is this something that you want us to look at the 57-day rule? Is this something that we want to start looking at the 2 attempts at communication rule or something like that to kind of give us a little bit of a guideline for where you want to see the bylaws committee go?
I don't have specific language in hand. The 57-day rule was originally put into place to accommodate candidates so that they would have early endorsements as early as we could following the end of the filing period. But ballot measures, the information is usually not available for another week or two. I think Tom could speak to that. And as I said, this is not the first time we run into issues being able to get the appropriate contact information. So whether it is modifying the timeline for ballot measures or looking at setting up a different process for ballot measures altogether is certainly worth discussing. But I would like us to have an approach that works and doesn't have us doing gymnastics every time it comes to dealing with ballot measures. Okay, unless there's anything else on this item, next up we have discussion of the CSU strike and some good news there. So Glenn, would you like to give us an update?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Glenn Lovell of Solano Democratic Workers Alliance. Wanted to extend a huge thank you to everyone within the Central Committee and the local Democratic community for getting the word out or showing up in solidarity at the strike lines for the workers who went on one of the largest strikes to occur in higher education. The California Faculty Association, representing professors, instructors, coaches, and as yet other workers under the CSU system, launched their second statewide strike. They had done a series of strikes in December. They did a one-day statewide strike. In this area, of course, was at Cal Maritime Academy in Vallejo. Huge thank you, of course, to everyone who was able to show up there, as well as to Don for getting the word out. We had a lot of fellow workers out there, from teachers to trades to SCIU, as well as a number of Democratic activists and leaders. Big thank you to many, including from this committee, Cassandra James, for being there on the strike lines, and all other allies who showed up in solidarity. The message was certainly received. Workers are rising up in areas that were thought inconceivable, whether it's Starbucks all the way to the university level and everywhere in between. And so the strike really did work. They reached a tentative agreement with real forward movement for significant pay increases for the faculty who are not yet on tenure track, still increases for those tenured or on tenure track, as well as expansion of paid parental leave that was simply not there, even for professors. And so a lot of great achievements in the strike, and looking forward to, of course, seeing the ratification of the tentative agreement and a big improvement for those workers' lives and in higher education. And thank you again, everyone who showed solidarity and were there in support.
Right. Thank you, Glenn. Any questions to Glenn on this topic? If not, I'll just echo what he had to say. Thanks to all of you who were able to support our workers, and remind you that there are a number of labor actions that may well be coming down the pike, and encourage you to be supportive of working families whenever possible. Certainly, we know that management is not the friendliest of people in most places, so we do certainly want to support our workers where possible. Does anyone have any items that they wish to bring up for the good of the order? Glenn, your hand popped up again.
Yeah, once again, I wanted to echo a statement that Don, that Chair Lowry circulated to everyone prior to this meeting about the importance of our county supervisor race for District 1 for the Solano Dems endorsed candidate for Cassandra James. We all know, as Democrats, as working people, as the broader progressive movement, our strength is in people and being out there in the field, reaching the voters. And this is a big race determining the balance of power at the county level going forward. And people, we need as many volunteers out there as possible for the candidate of the Democratic Party, of labor, of environmental groups, and as yet other progressive advocates to be out there and help Cassandra get over the finish line, since this will be decided in basically 6 weeks or 5 weeks, basically at this point.
Okay. Looking, I don't see any other hands. John.
Yes, I wanted to just kind of underscore the fact that Dr. Martin Luther King's son passed away this week of prostate cancer. And I want to remind all the brothers how important it is. I started the first prostate cancer support group at Travis Air Force Base in the military. And I wanted to remind all the brothers how important it is to get your prostate exam done. The finger wave only takes five minutes, and get it done. Early detection really works. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for their civil tone of doing a very spirited debate this evening. I know sometimes when you get passionate on these issues, but I appreciate everyone listening to each other and helping us hopefully reach a positive outcome when it comes to these endorsements. So, everyone, I will entertain a motion to adjourn, and we'll see you Saturday night.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Have a good evening, everyone.
You too.